What's up, LEGO builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. Army builders, get ready because you're about to see the biggest LEGO Star Wars Mud Trooper army this side of Camino. I'm just kidding, I have no idea how big it is compared to others, but this week I will be figuring out if I have enough Mimban troopers to properly man the base. I got an absolute mountain of parts in to hopefully finish building and lighting the Imperial base, and this week I'm about to learn a very important lesson on why we don't wait until the last minute to start building something big. So if you're ready for some Imperial love, don't forget to execute Order 66 on that like button, and let's get building. I ended the last update on a bit of a cliffhanger in regards to the base. I had that weird problem where the command center and back wall weren't the same length and wouldn't connect even though they were the same amount of studs long. I kept thinking about the issue while building and realized I'd seen similar problems while building Utapau years ago. I had the thought that the wall might be bowing inwards due to its size and the uneven nature of the tables underneath. So I stuck a base plate under the mock at about the halfway point of the back wall, and sure enough, this raised up the middle just a bit, effectively leveling out the top of the wall, allowing me to pop everything into place. Once again reminding me that building at this scale often creates some non-LEGO related problems. With that out of the way, I can unbox some LEGO. I'm so sick of buying reddish brown pieces at this point, it's not even fun. But the terrain keeps eating up every order I get like it's Baby Yoda with a jar of someone's children. I also had to buy more ball joints, which sucks because it's not a part I really use often, but I ran out for the roof and it's only halfway done, and there would be riots in the streets if people caught me building only half a roof. Amidst this sea of monotony, there are a few bright spots. I got more chains for the barbed wire and got a bunch of these light bluish gray quarter cylinders. These will be used to finally finish the outside of the turbo lifts on the back of the base. I got a bunch of the modified 1x2s as well to fill in the gaps on the base roof, and managed to snag a few cool looking things for some upcoming projects. This will be for my mech army, hopefully a dropship of sorts, and this is going to be used for some kind of crane or mill in a World War II mock on my second channel, Coconut's Kingdom. Last but certainly not least, I got a bunch of these dark bluish gray Imperial helmets, which are very important, and later in this update we'll talk about why. Now it's time to build. You've seen this before and hopefully aren't tired of it, but I'm going to build more trench modules. I've got one half done, and while I'm still trying to figure out the tricky curve part in the middle of the mock, I figured I should knock out the other half of the trench, that way I can finish the surrounding foundation walls and terrain. The other side of the trench is much smaller, so I'm only going to need 3 sections, but even that pushed my collection of dark bluish gray tile to its limits. It's satisfying to watch the trench come together in sections like this, especially when I get to see how the different mud detailing patches line up when the walls and floor are connected. I didn't think it would take this long to finish the sidewalls of the mock, but here we are, a couple of weeks before the finale, and now that the trench is in, I can knock out this last little patch pretty fast. It's getting more and more fun to build the reddish brown peaks and valleys into the dark bluish gray rock, and I think it looks really cool. Let me know in the comments if you think I should use this technique in future mock projects. Once the walls are done, I can add the black frame and trench caps that will cover everything up. After that, I can tile off the terrain around the trench, and slowly slip into madness as I order even more reddish brown tile. A couple weeks ago, I finally started the hill on a live stream, and it's been a slow grind since then. It's not just a solid rock wall like I normally build, but a series of sloped sides and plateaus blending together, creating an almost rough pyramid shape, while a couple of trails snake up the sides. Not an easy task to begin with, and not to mention the hill is facing inwards towards the base, which made filming what I was building very difficult. You can also see by the slow progression, even in these sped up time lapses, the building went very slowly. I basically had to put pieces down, see if they look good, pull them up, and start over. Eventually, those slopes dried up, so I moved on to the ground in front. I've been wanting to add another water-filled crater, and this seemed like the perfect spot. These are a lot of fun to build, and I wanted to give this one a more elongated, weird-looking shape, so I played around with different wedge plates till I got a good-looking foundation, then kept building off of that. The terrain is turning out to be quite a challenge for me, not just because of how complex it is, but because of the sheer size. I haven't tackled a build with this much open space since Umbara back in 2020, and that was literally just flat black plates, so I really underestimated how long this terrain would take. Here's another section of Mimban I wasn't looking forward to building, the back of the base. No one's really gonna see this, and it's not important to the overall story at all, but I can't leave it blank and still sleep at night. I covered up the gaps between the pillar and walls, and pulled out the turbo lift so I could rebuild the shaft. All I'm gonna do is stack those quarter cylinders until I get up to the command center, and now officers and other staff can get up from the base floor to their Monday meeting without hoofing it up a massive flight of steps. And the round turbo lift shafts break up the flat expanse that is the back wall, which is nice. I decided to have a little fun back here, so I tiled off the ground in a 2x2 pattern so I'd have a little back deck of sorts to play around with. On one side I have a large round tank holding highly toxic gas or blue milk depending on how full the kitchen is, with a cluster of smaller tanks around it. There are a few bricks poking out of the wall that I couldn't remove without damaging it, so I decided to just turn them into a vent. You can never have enough vents on a base. Oh, and there's an abandoned crate that's been turned into a little flower garden. Now that I'm so close to finishing Mimban, I've started doing more building off camera, so hopefully you'll see some big leaps in progress as we take a look at what I've got done so far. The more I practice, the better the trench gets. Honestly, I should have started it on this side and worked the other way, so the best looking part of the trench ends up over there on the side where I film more often, but it's not a huge deal. I'm happy with how both ends look, and since it's so modular, I can adjust things pretty easily. This side is a lot muddier though, so it's a good thing I added this water spigot. When the trench needs cleaning, a hose can be attached, and now the walls and ground can be sprayed off into the drains, making everything nice and clean for about 2 minutes. Oh, come on! It's also nice to have this section of the side walls done because now, approximately 2 updates before the finale, I'm finally done with all the foundational walls. I spent most of an afternoon grinding out more of the hill and surrounding terrain, and I think it paid off. It's still hard to tell how it's going to turn out, but I've managed to add a couple of rough paths running up either side for the rebels to use. Once the face is done, I can pepper it with trees and hopefully call it good. I'm really regretting starting this section so late in the series. I'm feeling very rushed, which shakes my confidence and has me worried it's going to come out looking bad because time isn't on my side. But I can't focus on that now. I just need to stay focused and keep building. I eventually ran out of slopes for the hill, so I finished off the terrain around it. It's a little flatter than I would have liked, but I want to keep the area around the trench fairly flat since it's been packed down by boots and vehicles while the trench was being constructed. And I can go over the other patches later to roughen things up. The crater looks great. It's interesting how much contrast even a dark pool adds to the ground. I was going to add the remains of a dark orange droid from a bygone battle in the Clone Wars era, but I forgot, so I had to add them elsewhere, as you'll see in a bit. I was dreading the back of the base because I felt like the whole thing was a waste of time since I was building something no one would really notice and doesn't really have any bearing on the overall story. But I still wanted it to live up to the rest of the mock. So I decided to just have fun back here and build whatever I wanted to motivate me. On one end we have a few tanks storing stuff for the base and the remains of a droid someone dug up and dumped back here. The backside of a base or any building in general is a great spot to hide garbage, so I also made use of some empty crates littering the ground, and on the far end there's another power generator in dark green this time for a nice little pop of color. The flower patch was actually a great idea because it adds some much needed world building and color to a somewhat unimportant part of the mock, so whoever suggested this, thank you. I just need to make sure Jar Jar doesn't see those flowers. Ah, more. I was blessed with another round of packages that had the final piece I need to finish the base roof, these 6x6 tiles. Apparently the hordes I bought for Coruscant weren't enough, but I have plenty now. I also got the rest of the Imperial helmets I needed, and now I can assemble my army of Mimban troopers. And this guy for, well, that's something I can't talk about yet. Even though I still have more of the roof to do, it should go pretty smoothly considering I have the design all figured out. I assembled a bunch more of the ball joint strips and armored them up with some tile. This roof has actually been a really fun structure to build. It's got a very satisfying design, unlike the last big roof I tried to build, which still keeps me up at night. I learned to bend each strip slightly before putting it on the base, but even with that adjustment, it was still very difficult to get these in place because of how big and heavy they are. Even the slightest wrong move will pop them out of place, and before long I realized I had to pause and start connecting the new panels to the old ones before I could continue. That way they'd stop breaking and flopping around. Those modified 1x2s were next in line, and as I was placing them, I kept running into trouble because they'd get stuck, causing me to push on them harder, and you can probably imagine what happened after that. The building is all done for the week, and now it's time for some minifig action. LEGO's only released 4 Mimban figs, and 3 are all in one set from 2018, which means they're all stupidly expensive now. The 4th one is a muddy version of Han from a poly bag when he was fighting Chewie in the prison pit, which isn't a great army builder fig, so I found other ways to beef up my collection. This guy is called Rebolt. Apparently he's a Star Wars character, but I have no idea who he is, but I'm sure the comments section is going to be filled with answers on who he is. The dark colored jumpsuit makes for a great mechanic working in the repair bay or changing a light bulb on the landing pad, so I swapped out the tan helmet for a hard hat. For the infantry, I bought a bunch of custom LEGO Mimban Trooper torsos, heads, and accessories from Forest Moon Bricks and the Minifig Co. They look incredible and both sides have multiple different torso options. Only problem is the helmet situation. Some of these heads have goggle printing on them, but the only Mimban helmets LEGO makes have goggle prints as well. So I had to combine the two and that just looks bad. That's why these plain Imperial helmets are so important. They allow me to properly equip all my Mimban troopers while saving the goggle helmets for the guys who aren't wearing any. I also got some sweet Imperial driver bodies from the Minifig Co. I just might be an Imperial fan after getting all these new minifigs. I wasn't sure how many Imperial figs I'd be able to field for this, so I set them all up to get a count and was surprised with the result. Assembling the second portion of the roof was much more challenging than the first time around. I had to strain and reach really far to get all the way inside and apply the 1x2s, which were also being a pain as you saw. The roof now spans such a large area, it's getting progressively harder to move or adjust it as more panels are connected. And don't even get me started on how difficult adding more lights was. But all the annoyance and very mild suffering is paying off because this is a thing of beauty. The roof captures such a cool, rarely seen shape in LEGO, especially at this scale, and the whole structure is very strong. Not only that, it looks great from the outside and the inside. This honestly might be my favorite building I've ever created in LEGO. I managed to string the second row of lights and now the entire floor of the base is perfectly illuminated. I stuck some 6x6 tiles on the underside of the roof to hide the battery boxes and wires, which I'll finish tucking in later. The lights don't quite hit the command center because of the wires, but that's not a big deal since it's so close to the edge I can just shine a light inside. Sadly, I did have to go with the non-chain option for the LEGO lights. The wires pull on them, so when dangling on a chain, they were all bent and pulled into weird angles, so I had to secure them to the roof. I'm waiting to put the final panels on this end till the inside is all done, but they're all built and ready to go. Having an illuminated base floor is the perfect parade ground to show off my Imperial army. This is the first time I've ever built one, and I must say I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. And I'm impressed with the overall diversity of Imperial minifigs available from LEGO. Infantry, droids, and different officers. This isn't even including the different variations of Stormtrooper. I guess I'm just used to assembling generic clone forces. In total, I have over 40 Imperial figs ready to be deployed, led by Vader and his ominous guards. Most will be out in the trenches or patrolling the base, and I made sure to add some, I guess you could say, unique characters for different scenes I want to add. Also, if you want a custom minifig representing you in the mock, become a YouTube member today to enjoy that and many other perks, including exclusive hauls, behind the scenes content, and Coconut's Kitchen. The phrase "so close and yet so far" comes to mind when thinking about the current state of Mimban. I finished so many things, and yet the mock still looks far from complete, and I still need so many reddish brown tiles. I think it's the current state of the terrain with all the exposed filler that's making Mimban look so incomplete. Because outside of that, I only have a few things to finish, like the trench, storage area, and the hill. So if I can get the pieces in time, the next update should be the final one before the finale. But that's a wrap on another successful week of building Mimban. Don't forget to let me know what you think of the mock down below in the comments, and until next time, happy building.